Tonight, we delve into 6 true terrifying encounters from the deepest corners of the internet. Lock your doors, pull your curtains, and listen closely. Story 1. Halloween Intrusion, a haunting legacy. I was 22, the kind of age where Halloween parties felt less like dress-up and more like an excuse for unbridled chaos. This particular night, the chaos was at my best friend Alex's house, a sprawling old place his parents left him to run wild in while they were away. Alex, bless his soul, was a Halloween fanatic. Every inch of the house was transformed, a genuinely horrifying maze of props and cardboard walls that screamed expensive addiction. He loved it, and so did we. We were all deep in the deceptive normality of a college Halloween bash, loud music, laughter, and frankly, a cocktail of substances that ensured none of us were entirely in our right minds. Upstairs, in Alex's room, a few of us, myself, Alex, Michael, and Chris, were sharing a bong, lost in the hazy comfort of the moment. Then, it happened. 2 distinct, heavy bangs echoed from downstairs, cutting through the music like a knife. Silence gripped us for a split second before a chorus of screams erupted. The raw, animalistic cries of both men and women. My stomach lurched. Alex, usually the most laid back of us, moved with a clumsy, panicked urgency, rushing to the door. He swung it open, peering down. His face, when he pulled back inside, was something I'll never forget. The wide-eyed, vacant stare of someone who had just witnessed something truly unspeakable. "Hide," he choked out, slamming the door shut and fumbling with the lock, his hands trembling. We didn't ask questions. We knew. The air in the room grew thick with terror. Alex killed the lights, pulling Michael into the closet. Chris and I scrambled under the bed, burying ourselves in the dust and shadows. Downstairs, the blasting music died abruptly, replaced by a deep, guttural male voice screaming, "Everyone shut up!" A girl's piercing shriek of shock and fear tore through the silence, followed by another bang. Then nothing but the horrifying quiet. More shouting started, but I couldn't make out the words. My heart hammering against my ribs. I heard other male voices, confirming at least 3 intruders, though the dread in my gut told me there could be more. Then came the sound that solidified my fear into pure panic: heavy boots. Deliberately stomping up the stairs, each thud vibrated through the floorboards, growing louder, closer. They stopped, right outside Alex's bedroom door. The doorknob rattled, then twisted violently, locked, a frustrated grunt, and then the sickening thud of someone ramming their shoulder into the wood. Again, and again, the door held, but not for long. 2 sharp, deafening gunshots ripped through the silence, aimed directly at the lock. The door splintered, swinging open with a chilling creak. From downstairs, fresh cries erupted, followed by another chilling gunshot. I clamped my hand over my mouth, desperate to stifle my own ragged breathing, tears blurring my vision. Through the transparent bed skirt, I saw them: black, heavy boots, worn denim ripped at the ankles. They moved with an unsettling purpose, not randomly, but instinctively towards the closet. My blood ran cold. The closet door creaked open. I heard Alex's voice, thick with desperation, begging. He offered them anything, a generous amount of money, if they would just leave. He gave himself up, identifying himself as the homeowner. A harsh voice ordered him downstairs. The closet door shut. Chris and I stayed frozen, shaking uncontrollably, listening to Alex's footsteps being forced down the stairs. Michael, by some miracle, must have been completely hidden. What felt like an eternity, almost 20 minutes, stretched out. Downstairs. There was only the low murmur of Alex's voice, occasionally interrupted by the deeper tones of the intruders. We strained to hear, but couldn't. Then, the front door slammed shut. A moment of stunned silence, followed by Alex's hurried footsteps, thundering back up the stairs. "They're gone! They're gone!" he gasped, his voice raw with terror and relief. But the horror was far from over. The most indelible, sickening image of my life flashed before me as I stepped downstairs, back into the living room. 2 bodies, lifeless, lay on the floor. Sarah and Liam, my friends, holes in their heads, blood darkening the ornate rug. I still miss them. The police arrived, cutting through the lingering smell of marijuana and gunpowder. Alex, still reeling, managed to describe them 4 intruders in total, all masked, terrifying V-shaped masks, wearing fedoras, long coats, and gloves. They had demanded $100,000 in cash, and when Alex couldn't provide it, they forced him to fill a sack with his most valued possessions. The partygoers, held hostage, were also forced to empty their wallets. Alex's confession, delivered later with tears streaming down his face and a pipe clutched in his shaking hand, was agonizing. He lived in constant pain, believing he had caused the deaths of our friends. The guilt consumed him. Less than a year later, in July of 2013, Alex died of a heroin overdose. That Halloween night, and its devastating aftermath, left an unhealable wound, a chilling reminder of how quickly joy can turn to unspeakable horror, and how some ghosts never truly leave. Story 2. The Unsettling Knocks. Terror and solitude, my first Halloween living alone was meant to be a quiet triumph. My parents had helped me secure a small corner house. Just a single story with a basement, a perfect sanctuary away from their watchful eyes. It was 11 p.m., the kind of late hour where the last trick-or-treaters had long since vanished. I was curled on the couch, lost in the comforting flicker of a horror movie marathon, when a gentle rap echoed from the front door. I paused, half rising. Who would be at the door now? My first thought was mischievous teens, a classic ding-dong ditch prank. I waited a moment, then glanced through the window. Empty porch. Yep, just kids. I settled back, dismissing it from my mind. Then, it came again. A second, louder, more insistent knock. "Get lost," I yelled, irritation rising. I wasn't in the mood for games. They ignored me. The knocking escalated, and morphing into a rhythmic, almost violent pounding. My heart gave a tiny lurch. This wasn't playful. A cold knot began to form in my stomach. Anger fueled me. I leaped up, yanked the door open, and ready to confront the culprits. No one. The porch was empty, the street deserted. I slipped on my shoes and ventured outside, scanning the bushes and on peering behind my car, on even checking across the street. Nothing. They were gone, or incredibly well hidden. A shiver, not from the cold, ran down my spine. I went back inside, fumbling with the locks. The click of the deadbolt felt flimsy, inadequate. I retreated to my bedroom, locking that door too, a desperate attempt to fortify my little fortress. But even over the blare of the TV, the pounding persisted. A relentless, sickening thud against my front door. It had been going on for over half an hour. Was this some elaborate prank being filmed for online notoriety? I was close to calling the authorities. But the thought of my new home being egged or vandalized held me back. I wanted them gone, but not at that cost. Eventually, Dundee. The monotonous rhythm lulled me into a fitful sleep, the TV still murmuring in the background. I woke with a jolt, the pounding echoing again. My eyes snapped to the clock. 2 a.m., 2 in the morning. How could these kids still be at it? A wave of pure disbelief, then cold dread, washed over me. I turned off the TV, the sudden silence deafening, my ears straining, my heart seized. It wasn't the front door. The knocking, clearer and more menacing than before, was coming from my bedroom door. I shot out of bed, eyes darting frantically around the darkened room, searching for anything to use as a weapon. They knew I was awake. The doorknob rattled violently, then twisting, then a deep groan of wood as something heavy slammed against it. These weren't kids. My mind raced, a frantic kaleidoscope of desperate thoughts. Then, a wild, improbable idea sparked. I lunged for my speaker system, the plugging in my phone. I typed, hands trembling. 45 gunshot sound effect into a search bar. Maxing out the volume, I pressed play. A thunderous crack ripped through the speaker, echoing through the house with chilling realism. I paused the sound, then screamed, my voice raw and hoarse. That was a warning shot. Leave now or I won't hesitate to shoot you in the head. Silence, a terrifying, absolute silence. Then, I heard it, two distinct pairs of heavy footsteps, thudding rapidly across my wood floors, towards the front of the house. And then, the unmistakable slam of the front door being yanked open, followed by the quiet of night. I waited, breath held, for what felt like an eternity. Slowly, I eased open my bedroom door, peering into the dark hallway. They were gone, but the front door, my supposed first line of defense, was left wide open, a gaping maw in the night. I rushed to secure it, double locking it again, then called the police, my voice shaking uncontrollably. They took my statement, but offered no answers. Who were they? What did they want? The terror of that night ended, but the chilling questions lingered, a haunting echo in the quiet corners of my newly violated home. Story 3. The Call in the Night. My Halloween night started with the simple comfort of routine. 14 years old, I was content to play guardian of the candy bowl, relishing the quiet solitude of our suburban home as my mother and younger sister went trick-or-treating. The glow of the horror movie marathon on screen was my sole companion, broken only by the occasional doorbell chime signaling another eager group of costumed kids. It was a familiar, safe kind of happiness, far from the awkwardness of going out alone. Then, the kitchen phone shrieked, its shrill ring startling me from my comfortable daze. I snatched it up, expecting a family member. But the other end was silent, save for a faint rustling and the distant, muffled sounds of what might have been a bustling street. I called out, "Hello, hello," 5 times, the silence thickening with each unanswered query, before a click signaled the end of the line. Just a prank. I decided, a classic Halloween mischief. I hung up, dismissing it. A few minutes later, as I settled back into the movie, the phone rang again. The same unknown number flashed on the caller ID, annoyance warred with a prickle of curiosity. I answered. This time, there was no fumbling, just a soft and incredibly faint sound of breathing, almost imperceptible, yet unmistakably there. "All right, Mark, I know it's you," I said, trying to sound nonchalant, naming my friend who often pulled similar stunts. The line clicked dead. A tiny shiver traced its way up my spine. It was unsettling, certainly, but I pushed the unease down, blaming Mark's adolescent attempts at a scare. Time bled on. The light outside faded, dipping the neighborhood into a deeper, more profound darkness. The doorbell rang less frequently. I was engrossed in a classic slasher film when the phone rang a third time. My stomach clenched. The sound of that ring had become sickening, a harbinger of something I couldn't quite name. My resolve to ignore it crumbled. I picked up, dread coiling in my gut. Once again, silence. But this time, it was a heavy, suffocating silence, punctuated only by that soft, rhythmic breathing, closer now, more deliberate. It stretched for what felt like an eternity, the air growing thick with an unspoken threat. Then a voice, unnaturally deep and slow, a grotesque caricature of a whisper, rumbled from the receiver, "I'll be paying you a visit tonight." My breath hitched. All pretense of a joke evaporated, unreplaced by a cold, icy terror. "Get lost," I snarled, hanging up with a trembling hand, vowing to never answer again. Barely half an hour passed. Without warning, the house plunged into absolute blackness. The TV died. The lights vanished. The sudden, profound darkness was a physical blow. I froze, my heart hammering against my ribs. Then, from the front door, a loud, angry pounding began, each thud vibrating through the floorboards, through my very bones. I wanted to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. Just as panic threatened to overwhelm me, another sound cut through the terrifying cacophony, a low, chilling laughter, coming from outside. And then, I recognized it. My friend Mark. Relief, sharp and immediate, flooded through me, momentarily eclipsing the fear. I stumbled to the door, yanked it open, ready to unleash a torrent of angry words. There he stood, still chuckling. "So it was you, you idiot!" I shouted, shoving him, the anger outweighing the fading terror. "What about the voice?" Mark stopped laughing, his confusion genuine. What voice? I just called and did the heavy breathing, unlike always. My heart plummeted, the relief twisted into something far more sinister. If Mark only did the breathing, then who made that call? Who threatened me? We ran to the side of the house, to the fuse box. My blood ran cold. It had been pried open, the wires deliberately snipped. Someone else, someone with true malice, had been there. We scrambled back inside, adrenaline coursing through our veins, and I called my mother, who immediately contacted the police. The call was eventually traced to a public payphone at a nearby bar. But even with the police report, the terror of that night lingers. Was it just a cruel prank, escalating wildly out of control, or was it a genuine attempt at a break-in? Thwarted only by Mark's poorly timed joke, I'll never truly know. And the haunting ambiguity, the chilling question of what could have happened, still creeps into my thoughts every Halloween night, a silent, unseen visitor. Story 4, The Chase on the Bridge. The crisp autumn air bit at our cheeks, but the thrill of Halloween kept my friend Emily and me warm. At 11 years old, trick-or-treating was an art form, a quest for candy, and a cherished ritual. We were careful kids, raised on the mantra of stranger danger. And that night, those lessons would scream back into our lives. We just crossed a small, rickety wooden bridge arching over a narrow, not winding river, our bags already pleasantly heavy, when a black SUV materialized on the other side, its engine idling softly, effectively blocking our path. A shiver of unease traced my spine. Emily and I exchanged a glance, our young minds instantly calculating the threat. We turned around, quickening our pace, our excited chatter replaced by the urgent thump of our own footsteps. We heard the electric whir of a window rolling down, and a voice, rough and raspy like a smoker's, called out, "Hey, kids, come back, I need help with directions." The words were innocent enough, but the tone, the lingering darkness of the evening amplified our alarm. We mumbled a hasty sorry, and broke into a near run, our hearts beginning to pound. The SUV, too wide for the quaint bridge, backed up and vanished down the road on the far side. A wave of relief, sharp and sudden, washed over us. We'd escaped, but the relief was fleeting. As we rounded a corner, the same black SUV screeched around another bend, slamming on its brakes directly in front of us, blocking our way once more. Panic flared, cold and hard. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate. The windows on our side rolled down, revealing not just the drivers, but two other men in the back seat. An older man with wispy gray hair and a thick mustache leaned forward, his eyes glinting in the dim streetlight. His voice, mirroring the driver's, was a gravelly whisper. "Get in, kids. We've got free bags of candy for you." My stomach clenched. Free candy was the oldest trick in the book. Fear, raw and primal, erupted within me. The first SUV, the one we thought had left, executed a rapid three-point turn behind us. We were boxed in. My breath hitched, my legs locked in terror. The Jeep then sped past, screeching to a halt a few yards ahead. Both passenger doors on the Jeep swung open and two of the men, large, shadowy figures, lunged out, their faces obscured by the dim light, their intentions horrifyingly clear. There was no thought, only instinct. Emily and I dropped our candy bags, the scattered sweets a forgotten casualty, and sprinted. My house, a beacon of safety, and it was just visible in the distance. We ran as if our lives depended on it, because they did. I could hear the men shouting behind us, their heavy footsteps surprisingly agile, gaining ground. My lungs burned, my legs ached. But the fear of their grasping hands fueled every desperate stride. We reached our front door, fumbling for the doorbell, mashing it repeatedly, frantically, a desperate siren for help, 20 times, maybe more. My mother, alerted by the incessant ringing, flung the door open. "Mom!" Emily and I screamed in unison, pointing back at the street where the black SUVs were now turning around, the men apparently giving up the chase as they saw the door open. My mother's face, a mask of terror, immediately pulled us inside, slamming and locking the door behind us with a resounding thud. She was on the phone to the police before we could even catch our breath, her voice trembling as she described the black SUVs and the three men with their raspy voices. All night, my mother paced, her anxiety palpable. "They know where we live," she kept repeating, a chilling echo of our own terror. My father tried to calm her, but the unspoken threat hung heavy in the air. Finally, the police agreed to send an unmarked car to keep watch. That small comfort brought a fragile peace, but it was the flashing red and blue lights outside our window a few hours later that truly broke the spell of fear. My dad woke us, and through the window, we saw it both SUVs pulled over, and three figures in handcuffs, the three old creeps who had tried to snatch us. As my dad spoke to the officer, Emily and I, emboldened by a surge of defiant fury, marched to the doorway. We shouted at the men, demanding their attention. They looked up, their faces grim. Without hesitation, and we both gave them a furious, unwavering middle finger. My mother, seeing our outburst, quickly pulled us back inside, sending us to bed. It had been the worst night of our lives, transforming the joyful innocence of Halloween into a terrifying ordeal. But the sight of those men in cuffs, the tangible proof of justice, somehow made it feel like the best night too. Yet, the memory of those raspy voices and the chilling offer of free candy still haunts me, a stark reminder of the hidden dangers lurking in the shadows of the most innocent nights. Story 5. The Intruder in the Closet. The last echoes of Halloween laughter had faded. My 7-year-old daughter, Lily, was finally tucked into bed, dreaming of candy and costumes, after a few hours of trick-or-treating and a home-cooked dinner. I was utterly exhausted. The comforting silence of the house a welcome relief. I brushed my teeth, ready to collapse into my own bed, when a soft patter of tiny feet interrupted the peace. Lily stood at my doorway, her eyes wide, a whisper escaping her lips, "Daddy, there's someone in my closet." I sighed, managing a weary smile. "Sweetheart, there's no one in your closet. It's just your imagination running wild after all those spooky stories." I tried to coax her to sleep with me, but she resisted, insisting she was safe in her own room. I assured her one last time, making a mental note that if she came back again, I'd march her straight to the closet and show her it was empty. Surely, 5 minutes later, she was back. "Hey, Daddy," she insisted. "I heard someone moving around and things falling over." The casualness of her tone, coupled with the specificity of her claim, sent a cold prickle down my spine. My heart skipped a beat. This wasn't just a nightmare. "All right, let's go see," I said, trying to sound braver than I felt. I walked her back to her room, flicked on the light, and forced a joking tone. "Is anybody in there?" We stood by the closet door, listening. My mind raced, trying to rationalize. Maybe a toy had fallen, or the old house was creaking. Then, distinct, undeniable, a soft thud from inside the closet. It wasn't loud, but in the complete silence, it resonated like a thunderclap. Every hair on my body stood on end. My breath hitched. "Lily, run to the Harper's house next door and call the police. Now!" I commanded, my voice strained. She didn't hesitate. As I heard her small feet thudding down the stairs, I lunged forward, grabbing the closet door handle. With a surge of adrenaline-fueled rage, I yanked it open. There, crouched on top of Lily's toy building block box, was Ben, the Harper's son. I seized him by the collar of his shirt, hauling him up aggressively. My mind was a blur of disbelief and fury. I dragged him next door, Lily already frantically ringing their doorbell. When Mr. and Mrs. Harper answered, I shoved Ben inside, right into his father's arms and now barely controlling my voice. Explained everything. I told them I wouldn't press charge it, but if I ever saw Ben near Lily again, they would regret it. Mr. Harper, pale with shock, slapped Ben across the face, then invited me inside, begging for an explanation. Inside, Ben stammered out his confession. While Lily and I were trick-or-treating, he and his friend, Sam, had snuck into our house through an open window and hidden in Lily's closet. "Sam," I asked, my blood running cold. "Is Sam still in my house?" Ben nodded. Leaving Lily with Mr. Harper, I sprinted back. The front door was still ajar. I burst into the house, my eyes scanning every shadow. And there he was. Sam, a shifty-looking kid from a few blocks over. In his hand, clutched loosely, was a piece of Lily's underwear. A primal roar tore from my throat. All reason vanished and replaced by a father's protective fury. I grabbed the boy by the throat, threw him to the floor, and slapped him repeatedly. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from the overwhelming urge to do more. I finally let him up, shoving him towards the open door, threatening him with the news if he ever so much as waved at my daughter again. Lily slept in my bed that night, clinging to me. The next morning, the horror deepened. A small, neatly drilled hole was in Lily's closet door, just above eye level. They hadn't just snuck in to hide, they had been spying on my daughter while she slept. playing with her underwear. The thought was sickening, a violation that went beyond mere trespass. I often wonder if I made a mistake not calling the police. The close friendship with the Harpers held me back. But the memory of that drill hole, the sheer perversity of it, still haunts me. Ben eventually went away to college, but the scar on our sense of safety remains, a chilling reminder of the darkest intentions hidden behind seemingly innocent acts. Story 6. The Haunted House, Prank or Malice. It was Halloween night a few years back, and my friends and I, all around 20, were buzzing with that specific blend of excitement and bravado that comes with being young and seeking thrills. We'd chosen Scarehouse Journey to the Basement, a local haunted attraction known for its elaborate setup and genuinely terrifying scares. This was its 4th and final year, making the anticipation even higher. It wasn't a guided tour, it was a group exploration in a sprawling, dark maze designed to disorient, with the only way out being to find a key in the basement and unlock the exit. We were all up for it. The journey began in a living room, meticulously crafted with antique furniture, dust motes dancing in the dim light, and artificial bloodstains streaking the creaky wooden floor. A giant, open coffin sat ominously in the center, draped in convincing spider webs. "This is going to be good," my friend, Liam, whispered, his voice a mix of awe and nervous excitement. We moved through dimly lit dining rooms and hallways, actors in grotesque costumes lunging from shadows, eliciting screams and laughter in equal measure. Each time, despite knowing it was coming when the jump scares still got me, we spent an eternity lost, going in circles, pushing through fake doors, the disorienting darkness playing tricks on our minds. The air grew heavy, thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, an intentional detail, we assumed. Finally, after what felt like hours, we found the entrance to the basement. A wave of genuine unease washed over us. It was utterly, completely black down there, a void that swallowed light and sound. The rule no cell phones loomed in our minds, forcing us into total sensory deprivation. Every creak of the steps echoed like a bone snapping, each sound amplified in the crushing darkness. "Okay, this is actually freaking me out," someone chuckled nervously. We moved slowly, arms outstretched, blindly navigating the oppressive darkness. My hand brushed against something cold and slick, and I flinched, pulling back quickly. Then, I bumped hard into someone. "Whoa, sorry, who was that?" I called out, expecting a friend to answer. Silence. A heavy silence, broken only by our own ragged breathing. Then, a hand, cold and firm, pressed down on my shoulder. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a playful tap. This was a deliberate, stern, lingering touch. A scream tore from my throat, mixed with a hysterical laugh, and I bolted, stumbling wildly in the darkness. We all started running, our desperate laughs echoing in the abyss. The feeling of being pursued in that absolute blackness, with no visual cues, was far more terrifying than any costumed actor. Thankfully, one of my friends, with a yell of triumph, found a key on a dusty desk in a corner. We scrambled back upstairs, bursting into the relative light of the main floor, adrenaline coursing through our veins. We found the exit door. Outside, a small bin labeled "Drop keys here, please," confirmed we were done. Halfway across the attraction's premises, the exit door creaked open again. A figure, impossibly tall, cloaked in a black robe, with a disturbingly realistic pig mask obscuring its face, stepped out. It began to follow us. "Just another scare," Liam muttered, but his voice lacked conviction. We walked faster, And so did it. We broke into a jog, and it mirrored our pace. We stopped, and it froze. The humor quickly drained away. This wasn't part of the show anymore. It had followed us for at least 5 blocks, a silent, menacing shadow. "We don't have the key." We dropped it in the bin, one of us shouted, desperate to end the charade, but it kept coming. As we neared Liam's house, the playful terror turned to genuine, gut-wrenching fear. Was this guy seriously following us home? Liam's front door was reportedly broken, so we rounded to the backyard, practically vaulting the gate. As we wiped our feet on the welcome mat, the backyard gate creaked open. The pig-masked figure emerged, no longer walking a button but striding purposefully. Faster. "Dad, get your gun!" Liam screamed, fumbling with the back door. The figure paused, its masked head turning sharply towards Liam, its stride slowing. Liam's father, a formidable man, burst out with a pistol in his hand, his face etched with fury. He aimed it directly at the masked man. The figure immediately raised its hand, a choked sob escaping the pig mask. "Don't shoot, I'm only 27. Liam's dad, without a moment's hesitation, bellowed for him to get lost and never return, promising no second thoughts next time. A part of me wished Liam's dad had forced him to remove the mask. Called the police. This guy got off too easily. Later, we called the haunted house attraction, describing the incident and the pig-masked character. Their response sent a fresh wave of ice down my spine. They had no such employee, never had. No black robes, no pig masks. Who was he? What did he want? Was it a disturbed individual, using the cover of Halloween and a haunted house to stalk us, or a prank that spiraled into something truly sinister? Almost deadly. The questions lingered, a festering unease that no answer could soothe. The terror wasn't just in being followed, but in the chilling ambiguity of it all. The realization that the line between a harmless scare and real, malevolent intent could be so easily blurred, leaving you with nothing but questions and a haunting, lingering dread. If you have a story to share, a true encounter that still haunts you, or a terrifying dream you can't escape, send it to email truecreepyexperience@gmail.com. Your anonymity is always respected. If these tales have kept you on edge, a quiet like and a subscription would be appreciated. Until next time, try to sleep peacefully. The world isn't always as it seems in the dark.